The standard workflow with cardiac monitoring is you might wear a cardiac monitor and then mail it back in, wait a few days, it's reported, it goes to your doctor calls you up, says come in, you drive in, you park, you see the doctor. There's a lot of churn related to cardiac monitoring. But we believe if we give the patient the device and they wear it until we get an answer for them, that's going to be the best from the patient's perspective as well as the doctor's perspective. I recently had a patient who was seen in the emergency department because she was feeling lightheaded and dizzy. By the time she got there, her EKG looked normal, and they sent her out with one of these monitors. A couple days later, she gave me a call and she said, they haven't been able to diagnose this, but I'm feeling it right now. What's happening? And because the data were coming in real time, I could actually look on the screen and tell her at that moment what arrhythmia she was in. She was in a ventricular bigeminy, and without having to bring her back into clinic, I was able to titrate the medications and get her an answer that she was looking for as well as symptom relief. So it was a big success for that patient. A few years ago, Mayo Clinic was interested in doing something different in cardiac monitoring. We decided to go out into the market and figure out what options were available. And most of what we saw were vended solutions where we could essentially give our data to a third party who would interpret it and give it back. Many of our clinicians weren't comfortable with that. We wanted to make sure that we had custody of the data, that we were the ones looking at it and interpreting it. So instead, what we decided to do is look for the best hardware and the best software, and then hire our own ECG technologists to interpret the studies and make sure that we were providing the best possible care to our patients.
Like many areas of society, the amount of information that we can create is beyond the ability of any individual to actually consume and make sense of. So I think what we'll continue to innovate is not just the devices that allow us to get information from patients, but also the tools that will lay on top of that data that actually give it meaning for patients and providers.
Going forward, we have implemented artificial intelligence algorithms that help us diagnose hidden diseases that even an expert reviewer can't identify. While we're currently using these within the Mayo system, we anticipate in the not too distant future rolling these out for monitoring. You're going to see a 27-year-old woman with fainting spells and palpitations, or a 48-year-old man who every time he goes for a jog, his heart's racing. These are the kinds of cases where the single most useful thing is knowing what their heart rhythm is doing at the time that they're having the symptoms.
Many of the cardiologists at Mayo Clinic have been thrilled with this technology. They really feel like it's putting the data that they need into their hands to care for their patients. And we're thrilled to be able to offer that now so that everybody around the country can deliver that same level of care.
Mayo Clinic is not about trying to compete. We're about trying to use what we know, share it with others to elevate healthcare both for Mayo Clinic and for our partners across the world and across the country. What digital technologies do is they remove barriers. They remove physical barriers for patients to get access to the technologies, and most importantly, they remove barriers that exist within healthcare. That's a big part of what we're doing with CV Diagnostics.